What's going on, guys? As you can see, earlier this year I went to Legoland Star Wars Days and I took the Star Wars pod racers that I've been working on. So this video is kind of going to be a collection of the pod racers that I've made thus far. Now this first one is the pod racer of Clegg Holdfast. Now I had a lot of fun making this one, mostly because of the carriage on the back. As you can see, I have all of them on these little stands like the ones that came with the pod racers that the Lego company actually released, just for convenience sake, and I thought it was kind of cool to have some sort of uniformity amongst all of them that could match the ones that were retailed. Now this is just a back view of the pod racer. As you can see, I thought this one was interesting because the carriage, it's kind of like a parasailer almost. And I thought it was kind of cool. As you can see, it has kind of like a, I guess, nitrous tank at the top. I know it's not really nitrous, but that's what it looks like. And I gave all of the carriages some controls, as well as the little antennas for joysticks, kind of. And I was really happy with the way that this one came out. And this is just a view of the sides and the front, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And this next one is Aldar Beedo. Now this was actually one of the first ones that I built. I actually had one of my good friends come over and build this one with me, and I was really happy with the way that this one turned out as well. Just give you a little view of the entire thing. As you can see, this one is a little bit larger, like it has a much longer span than the other one, and this was mostly due to the fact that the cords where the cords connect to the carriage, the cords are further, where the cords connect to the engines, they sit further back, so I had to have the carriage also sit further back to not have the cords stick out too far from the carriage. And yeah, this is just a top view of that. And also, I was able to get the Aldar Beedo minifig that Lego created, so I have him sitting in the carriage over there. And here, this will be a close-up shot of that. I was actually really happy with the way this came out. This carriage had a lot of weird shapes and contours that I kind of had to replicate in Lego form, and I think I really got the look that I was looking for. As you can see, he has his own controls and such. I went ahead and used that printed piece, that the 4x2 slope that came in the Watto's junkyard, just because I had it and I thought it'd be kind of cool to have something that was something unique to put on this carriage that would make it look a little bit more like what you would see in the movie. Now this next one is Mawhonic. So this is actually one that Lego, I guess just like Aldar Beedo, Lego did make this in the Watto's junkyard set, and that's where I got those two big circular engine tile pieces on the front of it. And I kind of used those as the start off for the sizing, and I just went ahead and built the engines around them. I really like the colors on this one, like the lime green and the yellow. As you can see on the smaller engine, the one that kind of jets out from the side of the larger engine piece, because they didn't make that a lime green. And I also used the Reese minifigure for Mawhonic. They're the same species. I don't remember what the name of that species is, but they look close enough. I guess Mawhonic's a little bit more orange than Reese, but I thought it was sufficient. I wasn't gonna get a Reese and paint it just to make Mawhonic. I thought this did the job pretty well, and this came out literally exactly how I wanted it to, so I was very happy with that. And then just another view of the engines there from the side. Those came out pretty well. And now this next one is absolutely one of my favorites. This is Gasgano. Lego made this one also in the old Mos Espa Pod Race set that came with this one, Anakin's and Sebulba's, and I was extremely happy with the way this one came out. The only thing is I had to use those inverted curved slopes on the engines just because the regular slopes cost way too much money. It wasn't even necessarily that the individual pieces themselves cost a lot of money. There just aren't a lot of them out there. So for me to purchase them, I would have had to purchase them like 1 to 2 to 3 at a time from different places, and the shipping cost of that would have just gotten way too much when I needed like 48 of them. So I just used the inverted slope. And this is a custom Gasgano minifigure that I made, and I thought that came out pretty well. I used the face that actually came on the Lego Gasgano minifigure, and then I just went ahead and added my own body because the one they gave him was very weird. And I put the helmet on him, and I have the kind of the carriage. I thought that came out really well. And on the back of the engines, I have the purple pieces that come off. And now this is Ebe Endocott. Now I actually don't have a minifigure for this one, for the simple fact that if you've ever seen Ebe Endocott, he is a very weird looking individual, and I wasn't quite sure how to construct a minifigure for him at the time. I'm in the process of figuring that out. I'm not quite sure how it'll work out, but you know, it is what it is. So this one was probably the quickest one that I made, just because, I mean, there really isn't much to it. There's just the big triangles. The hardest part was just kind of figuring out how to get the top part of the engines to stick on there and kind of hang sideways without falling off too easily. And it's still not as sturdy as I'd like it to be, but it is sturdy enough to where I can, you know, pick it up and move it around without it falling apart. But yeah, other than that, I really like the colors on this one too. That kind of medium blue color with the red, I thought that looked really nice. And I mean, that was pretty much it. I think that this one, I mean, when I was deciding which of these pod racers I would build, I kind of just looked through it and figured out, you know, which would, you know, one, be the easiest to build, and two, would be the coolest to build. And I kind of picked this one out because I knew it would be very easy, and I wanted one that had, you know, a little bit different colors than the other ones, just to kind of have something different in the pod race mock that this will all ultimately lead up to. This is just a close-up view of the carriage. I was really happy with the way I was able to get these angles to kind of work out. If you see the actual carriage, you can see there are a lot of triangles in it, and at first I was very confused about how I would get this effect, but I was glad to be able to just, you know, use these slope pieces sideways, and I was even able to get to keep snot uniform through it. Now this is one of my favorites, if for no other reason than it has 4 engines. This is Quadinaros, and if you remember from the movie, Quadinaros does not ever actually race in the pod race because his engines kind of malfunction at the beginning of the race. But I thought, you know, people would remember this guy. You know, he has more scenes by himself than most of the other pod racers, and it's 4 engines. It's just cool as heck. So I thought that was pretty cool. Just give a little 360 view of the entire thing. It was kind of a challenge trying to figure out a way to have all 4 engines kind of be mounted in that position, and also be able to have the I don't really even know what to call it, the, I guess, electric thing that goes between the engines, that connects the engines together, to kind of have those do a cross. But I was able to figure that out. And then I have the cords that connect all the engines together, kind of tangled the way that they have it in the movie, so I like the way that turned out. And here I was just trying to get, you know, a more focused view of the carriage. And I overall was very happy with the way it came out. As you can see, that's kind of my little makeshift Quadinaros figure. I'm still in the process of kind of figuring out how I want to do that, but I think the general shape of the body worked out well for me. Now this one is probably my favorite one that I built so far, just because I thought this guy is pretty memorable from the movie too, because his carriage is, you know, that loop shape. A lot of people remember it, and the engines just look freaking awesome. So I was really able to get a lot of the effects that I wanted to get from this one. The only thing is that since the engines are so long, it looks like they're a lot closer to the carriage than they should be. But I mean, that was just the only way that I could get it to stay on the stand and have it work out that way. I have not made a minifigure for Teemto's yet. I eventually will, and I also plan on doing more with the inside of the carriage there, you know, having because he has, I guess, handles that kind of extend to him from the outside of the carriage, so I definitely want to do that. And then I'll also have more controls and screens inside of the carriage. this was just what I kind of finished up to take to Legoland Star Wars Days. But overall, I was happy with the way it came out. The hardest thing was getting the top pieces of the engines to mount to the circular wheel pieces that I used at the bottom, and that was quite a challenge. I was able to get it worked out though, and I was extremely satisfied with the way that this one came out. Now, just to give you a better up close view of the carriage, as you can see, there are a lot of weird angles and curves in this thing. And I mean, if you look up even pictures of it, I tried to match it as best as I could. I know there's even more curves kind of on the sides, but I mean, I had to sacrifice that to get the overall loop shape to work out. Now, this one is absolutely huge. This guy was absolutely the most difficult one that it took to the most difficult one to make, for the simple fact that there's so many complex shapes throughout the entirety of the engines, and I couldn't find a lot of very good up close pictures of this one. So it was quite a challenge to figure this one out. But I mean, if for no other reason, and you can see, you know, there's the huge cone pieces that kind of extend through the entire engine, and then I mean, it has the huge parts that kind of go over the dark red cones. It was very challenging to figure out how that was going to work. But other than that, I was able to get everything pretty much figured out, and it came out pretty well. And this is just a front view of it. What? And then a close-up view of the carriage. This was my attempt at a figure for this guy. I mean, he has a very large snout, and I mean, there's really no other way to do that without doing some sort of custom work. So for the meantime, that'll have to do. And other than that, everything, I mean, I was very satisfied with the way everything else kind of came out. The only thing is, it's not as sturdy as I'd like it to be, since the engines are so heavy. It's harder for them to stay on that stand. But, you know, for the purposes of it being a display mock, like, chances are, when it's set up, too many people won't be picking it up. Although it is on a stand, so that kind of defeats the purpose. But, whatever. On to the next two. And this is just a little size comparison to show you, you know, what the one that the Anakin's Podracer that Lego retailed looks like when compared to one of the ones that I made. And I'm very, very meticulous when it comes to making these things, because, you know, I really am a stickler for accuracy, especially when it comes to size. That's one of the biggest things that I try to shoot for. I love for my things to be minifig scale because it makes sense to me and it works with the system. So I was able to capture that pretty well, and this just kind of shows these off and how I was able to do that. So that concludes this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and, you know, just drop me a comment and tell me which of these is your favorite pod racer. And hopefully in the future I'll be able to get one more done, and I'll make a video on that one too.